Hey everyone, welcome into the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. I'm your host, Tony Edward. On your way in, please hit that subscribe button as well as a thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify or Apple, please leave a 5-star rating and review. Folks, I want to apologize for my voice ahead of time and for missing a few episodes over the past couple days. I've been under the weather, battling the flu, but I'm starting to feel better and we got lots to talk about. So let's kick it off with Bitcoin's chart right here. Bitcoin over $72,000 right now. So we're seeing some strength here. And we've been talking about this for the past 3 to 4 weeks. And that is, this is some sort of relief rally. How high it goes is TBD. I'm expecting maybe 80 to 85K. Potentially it wicks higher, goes to 90, right? But that's not guaranteed. And then we want to see rotation of liquidity to the altcoins where the altcoins outperform Bitcoin. Now, this is not a move to new all-time highs, as we've been talking about. Same thing for the altcoins. But a bit of a relief rally here after incredible downside and Bitcoin hitting the oversold zone on the daily and the weekly chart. Now, the MACD shows the bulls are still in control in daily chart. The RSI still shows room to run here for it to go a bit higher. But as always, there's nothing guaranteed. We could get negative news. There's a lot happening. We're going to talk about the stock market, but oil is going crazy. There's a lot of uncertainty around the world with the Iran situation and much more. So you got to keep these things in the back of your mind that there could be some black swan event news that could trigger a market dump. But this is a good sign. If everything goes according to plan here and what the charts are showing us, we could see a continuation into the 80Ks and then alts follow. On the weekly chart, we're seeing some good signs. So obviously a green candle here in the weekly. The important thing is that the RSI is moving away from the oversold zone and it still has room to run. So again, we could see further upside and we're seeing confirmation of both the daily and the weekly chart. For the MACD on the weekly, the bears are losing control, right? The MACD candles are turning from dark red into light red and they're getting smaller. So if you know how to read this metric, it shows the bears are losing momentum and this is about to flip green soon. So we can hope for Bitcoin to go as high as possible, maybe into the 90Ks. And then we have a little mini alt season, right? Not a true alt season. So we shall see. The DXY showing a lot of weakness. Its RSI showing it's overbought. So the dollar's overbought and it looks like it's going to dump down again. How far it dumps down, I don't know. There's an inverse correlation with all of this. And even if we look at USDT dominance, that's starting to break down. So that's a good sign. And it's correlating with Bitcoin's move, right? The stablecoin liquidity is making its way into the market. So the assets are running. So the USDT dominance is breaking down. However, what I'm concerned about, folks, is the stock market is showing a lot of weakness here. So you look at the S&P 500, you look at the Nasdaq, they're all rolling over. And what we've seen is that the gravitational pull of the stock market can bring down other assets such as crypto. So this is where the relief rally for crypto is not a move to new all-time highs. And this is a further confirmation of that, in addition to us being in a bear market. But the gravitational pull of the stock market starts dumping. Again, you got oil over $100 a barrel. You got the Iran conflict. You got so many things going on. These things are going to drive pressure, and it looks like there's distribution taking place here for the stock market, the Nasdaq, the S&P 500, and much more. Now, is it going to drop in a straight line? Of course not, right? And similar to crypto and what Bitcoin's doing right now, you're going to see a relief rally. Eventually, it's going to become oversold. In fact, the daily RSI is approaching the oversold zone. It's not there yet, but it's approaching it. And what do markets do? Like we've been talking about, right? They do the opposite of the herd. So everybody starts getting scared. They don't know how to read RSI or MACD or trend lines and all these things, right? Like, for example, the stock market, it looks like it wants to break through the 200-day moving average. And as you all know, nothing good happens below that. When you are above that, you're in a bull market. When you are below that, you're in a bear market, right? So this is where we're going to have to watch this closely. But the good thing is it's like a slow distribution happening, and crypto may have its rally, then the stock market dumps, and then everything starts going down to new lows. That's what it looks like. Could it change? Like I said, nothing's guaranteed to the upside or downside here. Could something break in the system? For example, I recently reported that BlackRock limited withdrawals out of one of its funds. I think it's a private credit fund here. So you're starting to see some cracks in the system. If BlackRock has to do this, the world's largest asset manager, something's wrong, right? Doesn't mean that I'm a doomer and I'm calling for the collapse of the economy in 1929. That's not what I'm saying. Just these are signals that things are starting to break down, and we know the ultimate solution. What do the governments do? What does the Fed do? They will step in and print money. They're not going to let BlackRock go to zero. They're not going to let the assets go to zero because that would collapse the entire system. If you understand why we have to hold assets, why they keep printing money, and why those asset prices keep going up, right? And here is a signal that worries me, guys. It's giving me 2008 vibes. And that is Jim Cramer tweeted out just on Friday, the 13th, not buying the 2007 scenario. If you recall, when Bear Stearns and a lot of the Wall Street firms were starting to collapse, Jim Cramer said, don't take your money out. This is documented. There's videos of this, right? Don't take your money out. Bear Stearns is fine, blah, 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 right? He was telling the masses that everything's fine. And then literally a week later, massive dump, big time collapse. We know how that story ended with bailouts and much more. So again, I'm not a doomer. Long term, I am bullish. I'm just saying near term, watch out. There could be something that comes up that breaks something, and you're going to see assets dump, but that presents a buying opportunity, just like March 2020, right? When the pandemic started, just like the tariff liberation day last year when markets all dumped. And that was an opportunity to buy, and we went up after that. The problem is there's obviously a 2 to 3, 4 month lag before things start picking up steam, right? They're going to let things get bad, and I think the Fed will step in with some sort of bailout. They may not call it QE, they'll call it something else. So asset prices will eventually go up. So I'm just giving you the scenario that it seems to be forming here. Again, not guaranteed. It could be that final catalyst that drives the stock market down, drives crypto a bit lower, right? Because we have been oversold, but it takes Bitcoin to the 50Ks range. And then we find some sort of bottom and then we move back up. So this is where you have to have the macro view. Don't get emotional if something breaks and there's panic and headlines, right? You do not want to be part of the Jim Cramer news cycle and the masses feeling fear and they start dumping, right? That's where you want to accumulate. So once you understand that, folks, it's game changing for your investments, and it allows you to really, really grow your wealth. And that's a lesson I had to learn. And I used to be that emotional roller coaster going with the headlines. Jim Cramer said this. Oh no, CNBC saying, oh, look at the headline in the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times. Now, that doesn't even bother me. I look to the charts, the on-chain data, the macro factors, the fundamentals, right? I look at what the Fed is doing. So this is where you have to unlearn all that mainstream financial news nonsense, right? And look at the data. So again, short term, I think Bitcoin continues to move higher. Some altcoins pop off, not to new all-time highs. Stock market showing weakness, and it could go a bit further down. Maybe something breaks, and then the Fed has to step in with some sort of bailout. We're going to have to wait and see. But patience and having the macro view is so important. Okay, look at this. Billionaire investor Stan Druckenmiller said he expects global payment systems to run largely on stablecoins within 15 years, calling them more efficient, faster, and cheaper than the current infrastructure. So all the big names and investors now coming out of the woodwork saying they understand it, what's going to happen, blockchain, and it's because that we've crossed the chasm, guys, right? Blockchain technology is here to stay. We've talked about it ad nauseum. The capital markets, the governments, and the economies will all run on blockchain rails. However, in the same interview, Stan did say some negative things about Bitcoin. However, what we've been seeing lately is that a lot of these guys, the big names like Shamat Palihapitiya, Stanley Druckenmiller, they've been shorting. Clearly, right? They flip their narratives. When things are bullish, they'll give out their bullish narrative because they're long. When they're short, like they are now, they'll come out and say, yeah, I'm not sure, quantum this, quantum that. They'll come up with some narrative. I've been here long enough and I see it. Not a lot of people see it, unfortunately, and they get caught off guard by the big name. Oh my God, Stan Druckenmiller, Ray Dalio said this, Chamath Palihapitiya said this, right? And I hope I know the game, how it's played. These guys go on TV and they put out their narratives based on their position. So you got to make sure you don't just take what they're saying at face value. You have to validate what they're saying with your own knowledge. So just a FYI, we've been seeing a lot, and I think a lot of these guys, they saw that gold was the better trade, so they started shorting Bitcoin. They're long gold and all these things, and Ray Dalio kind of kicked it off. Then Chamath Palihapitiya started doing. Then Stan, even though he's saying he's bullish on stablecoins and blockchain, he started saying, Bitcoin, I don't know. But yet in the last bull market cycle, he was like, Bitcoin is a hedge and I'm long and all. It's the same thing over and over, man. I hope you guys see what I'm talking about. Okay, guys, this episode is brought to you by Trezor. Trezor makes storing your crypto easy. They are the creators, the pioneers behind crypto hardware wallets. They started this in 2013. They created the seed phrase setup and much more. Their hardware wallets are open source and they're beautifully crafted, guys. I'm a user of the Trezor Save 5 and Save 7. Just easy to use, beautiful screens, and much more. They feel really great in your hand as you're holding them, and they're so easy to navigate. And Trezor supports all the top altcoins, guys. I'm talking Bitcoin, Solana, XRP, Ethereum, Dogecoin, Cardano, you name it. Go down the list. They supported even new tokens like BlackRock's BUIDL. They have a software suite called Trezor Suite, which helps you to manage all of this. And they have a hand-holding service that if you want to talk to a Trezor rep after buying your device, they can walk you through the setup and answer all the questions you have. Don't worry, they don't ask you for your private keys. And like I said, I'm a user. I'm a big believer in self-custody. I believe that's the safest way to custody your crypto assets, where you control the private keys. And if you use my code Thinking Crypto, all one word, Thinking Crypto, you can get 5% off your purchase. So check out Trezor. Link will be in the description. Now, folks, look at this. This is very interesting, coming out from Circle, which is the issuer of the stablecoin USDT. So Circle's USYC just became the world's largest tokenized money market fund. They actually surpassed BlackRock's BUIDL, which is interesting. So Jeremy Allaire, founder and CEO of Circle, said tokenized treasuries and repo as collateral is a major emerging use case, and we are proud of how quickly this has grown. What's especially powerful about USYC is the ability to 24/7, 365 create and redeem it using USDC and a smart contract teller. Real-time money and collateral is better. So pretty significant milestone, especially that they beat BlackRock to it, right? But we're going to see more and more of this. Competition's very good and very healthy, and it's great to see that a crypto native firm, which is now publicly traded, of course, is doing well. And I've often told you guys, there's certain stocks that I invest in as far as crypto companies, Circle being one of them, Coinbase. So I look to buy them when they're at the lows. I told you guys I was not investing when Circle went public because the stock price is inflated, but now that it's down, I'm going to accumulate, right? So that's not financial advice, just, sharing what I'm usually doing with you guys, and it's up to you to do your own research, of course. Look at this. Wyoming's Frontier stablecoin, which is FRNT, the first U.S. state-issued stablecoin, is now live on the Hedera blockchain. So I'm trying to get someone from Wyoming on to talk about this, and this could be a model for many different states. On the federal level, of course, you have different stablecoins and issuers who are getting licenses after the Genius Act has been passed. And on the state level, it's to be determined how this will all play out. And, how are they going to compete? But, the economies for each state are large enough where they can have their own stablecoin, have their citizens use it, and get the benefits. The question is, if I go to another state, can I easily use that stable coin? And that's, will there be interoperability and that type of thing? If it's all just backed by the US dollar, we're going to have to wait and see, but that would be ideal. The states issue their own stable coin, and I can go to another state and spend it. And, there's an instant swap, and it's atomic settlement. I don't have to wait, and I don't have to do anything necessarily. I just scan, and the back end, everything's taken care of, right? That would be the ideal scenario. But this is really great. I hold the HBAR token in my portfolio. I am bullish on this project long term. And like I said, trying to get someone on from Wyoming to talk about this stable coin. Now, some not so good news for you guys, but it's important that you know about it. Apparently, the DOJ is investigating Binance over crypto flows that may have flowed to terrorists, Iran-linked entities, things like that. Binance is saying that they don't know, and they're willing to go through the details and so forth, but I don't know how far this goes because we know the Trump administration pardoned CZ, and there's some close collaboration on certain things. Binance has invested, I believe, in the World Liberty Financial stablecoin and things like that. So we shall see. I've often stated that in the early days of crypto, it was kind of the wild, wild west where it was so small, there wasn't a lot of enforcement of KYC, AML. Not that folks were trying to be nefarious. It was just this entirely new market and system. I remember using exchanges. I didn't have to KYC, AML, but me and millions of other people, we weren't trying to do anything nefarious. We were just trying to buy the asset, right? It was a pain in the ass. I remember having to buy stuff on Bitstamp and then move it over to Binance and to get all, it was just crazy, man. And anyway, TLDR here is that maybe there were bad actors who fell through the cracks. I don't doubt that. But I don't think the exchanges were trying to endorse that, right? That's the point. And look, if they have to pay the fine, they have to pay the fine, right? It is what it is. But I don't think that's happening now, though, because things have changed drastically. The industry has matured. There have been a lot of the governments are requiring KYC, AML checks, and all that, which is good. And we'll see where this goes. Now, something that's really pissing me off, and you guys know how I feel about it. I'll read the headline. Donald Trump Memecoin team launches second gala promotion as Trump token hits all-time low. I've said it from the day he launched it or I heard this news. This is not something any president or public official should be doing. And I wish Donald Trump would shut this down and tell the people involved, hey, stop it. That's it. But it keeps rearing its ugly head. And I hope it doesn't cause any big problems. The token's down like 90 something percent. So is the Melania token down like 98%. Again, horrible optics, bad look. I don't care what your politics are. Even if you're the biggest Donald Trump fan in the world, you shouldn't be pushing anything like this because what's going to happen now, it sets the precedent that if a Democrat leader comes into power and starts a meme coin, then we're going to have a whole bunch of problems here. So I really, really don't like this. And I hope that someone talks to President Trump and the team there, like, dude, stop this. Stop the meme coin. Like, I don't have a problem with his son, Eric, having American Bitcoin, right? That's like a degree of separation from President Trump. Eric is running it. It's not a meme coin. It's a legit business and that type of thing. And even World Liberty Financial, right? But the meme coin, man, come on. And you just look again, it's down 90 something percent. Like, why are we doing this? Why are you guys trying to hold a dinner for this? This is ridiculous. So, horrible, horrible decision here, bad optics, and I hope they don't continue to push this thing. And I mentioned the Clarity Act that it's things like this could potentially hold up the Clarity Act. We are getting news here that potentially this bill may not pass this year. So here's the headline. U.S. Clarity Act unlikely to pass Senate Banking Committee before April, said Senator John Thune. So Alex Thorne of Galaxy Digital, he says, if Clarity doesn't pass committee by end of April, odds of passage in 2026 become extremely low. This needs to hit the Senate floor by early May. Floor time is running out and odds diminish every day that passes. The framing right now is that the dispute over stablecoin rewards is holding up the Clarity, but even if compromise is reached on rewards, there are likely to be other hurdles, possibly DeFi, dev protections, SEC powers, or even ethics. Again, all right, I just talked about the Trump meme coin. Elizabeth Warren and these bunch of people are going to use the meme coin, saying, look at the nonsense that's happening here. And this is why I wish Trump, or who the hell is advising him on these things, stop with this bullshit meme coin. And there's other things too, but the meme coin is an easy one. It's an easy one, right? So this is where it pisses me off because we need to get this Clarity Act through. And I'm concerned here that it's not looking like that with all the crap that's happening and Iran war and all that jazz, with the Iran war and much more. And it's a midterm election year. So I don't know, guys. Hopefully we can get this done. Hopefully. But it's not looking good. Now, most recently, we heard about, the Nasdaq, New York Stock Exchange, making big partnerships to invest in crypto as well as launch tokenization, go 24/7. And this article here does a great job summarizing what's happening. So I want to make sure I kind of rehash it so you guys are aware of it because it's such major news. So here's the headline from CoinDesk. Here's why Nasdaq and the owner of the New York Stock Exchange are putting the $126 trillion equity market on the blockchain. So, as we've been talking about, guys, capital markets, economies, and governments will all run on the blockchain rails. Wall Street's biggest exchanges are embracing digital assets by aiming to put the $126 trillion equity market on blockchains, but they are not going at it alone. Rather, they are relying on crypto exchanges to get there. Over the past week, two of the world's most powerful exchange operators, Nasdaq and Intercontinental Exchange, also known as ICE, the parent company of the New York Stock Exchange, teamed up with the digital asset exchanges to merge equities with blockchains through tokenization. Nasdaq is developing a framework that would allow publicly listed companies to issue blockchain based versions of their shares while preserving traditional ownership rights and governance. To distribute those tokenized stocks globally, the exchange is working with Payward, the parent company of crypto exchange Kraken. The offering will go live as soon as the first half of 2027. Meanwhile, just days earlier, ICE revealed a strategic investment in crypto exchange OKX at a $25 billion valuation. That deal includes plans to launch new tokenized stocks and crypto futures, allowing the exchange operator to tap into OKX's 120 million user base. So it's so amazing how these traditional exchanges are tapping into crypto exchanges to get tokenization done, to get liquidity, and to help go 24/7. So it's why I've been saying for a long time, crypto was the first truly global asset class trading 24/7, 365. There was never anything like it. And even the gold people, sometimes they like to say, well, gold's been around for a long time. It's a global asset. Yeah, but you can't track it real time, and you can't verify it real time, and you can't move it, right? So this is where they lose the argument because yes, gold is distributed globally. Yes, gold and even oil and all these things are distributed globally, but they don't operate as a true market, moving liquidity and all these things, right? Real-time connections and much more. It's very segmented. While Bitcoin and all these assets, you move something, you see it on the blockchain, right? So this is where all these companies now recognizing this is the way forward, and crypto started it all. So I'm very bullish on the macro outlook of crypto, guys. And like I've been saying, once the Clarity Act passes, I believe that kicks off the super cycle with adoption, innovation, capital coming in, and certainly higher valuations of these blockchain networks and their tokens. The question is, are you going to be patient and have the emotional control to go through the roller coaster ride of markets? As we talked about at the beginning of the podcast, there could be something that's going to break very soon, and we see lower lows and mass capitulation, and everybody gets fearful. Then the Fed steps in, prints money, and then we start the next bull cycle. It's the same thing over and over. The narratives may change, the catalyst may change, but it's the same damn thing over and over. So I hope this is eye-opening for many of you. It was for me when I finally got that. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's fun or it's easy to go through, but once you recognize what the hell is happening, the cyclicality of markets, the narratives and the sentiment and how that all works, and what the Fed is doing with liquidity and all these things. And it's just cyclical, man. So just keep these things in the back of your mind and just be prepared for, again, in the near term, something breaking, and we'll see how markets go from here. But in the short term, I think Bitcoin keeps running up, maybe to the 80Ks, possibly wicks to 90 and above that, maybe. And then alts outperform it. And then I think a rollover is coming. A rollover to maybe the lower lows, but nothing crazy. Some people are calling for like, we're going to 25K, bro. Like, yeah, no. Look at the oversold levels. We've already hit the oversold levels that we've seen in FTX and the other bear markets, right? So please stop with the 25K and all that nonsense. Could we go to 48K? Yeah, yeah, that's possible. I'm not saying that it must. I'm just saying it's possible. I'm prepared for that. At that point, I'll be looking to buy. Um, and then, but we're gonna bottom and then keep going. I think the majority of the downside is already done here. If you go by these standards, this market has shown we didn't have that big of an upside in this the past bull market, so I don't believe we're having that big of a downside, right? It's all relative. Anyway, guys, that's the news. Let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't as yet. Be sure to support the podcast by subscribing to my free email newsletter. It's 100% free on Substack. Link will be in the description. Grab a copy of my book on Amazon. It's available in paperback and digital. And check out my course at mycryptocourse.com. This is a comprehensive course that teaches you everything you need to know about crypto and blockchain technology. All the links will be in the description. Thank you so much for tuning in, folks. I appreciate you all, and I'll talk to you all later.